All right. Welcome to another closing the distance conversation. Right now we're up and running. Hopefully Reverend Emily Wright in Austin, Texas is going to be joining us momentarily. Really excited to catch up with her, hear how God has been working in her life. Um, Excited to hear about her family, her ministry, what she's learned over the last year. All right. Okay, we're adding Emily right now. Because we got quite a bit of weather out here, so might be kind of getting in the way of this. Now, I'm excited to talk to Emily because we're going to kick things off with a little NCAA March Madness discussion, because there is the potential of a big run-in between two powerhouse schools. And hopefully it won't ruin any friendships, but there's always that potential, especially when you're talking about two competitive people. All right, we're adding Emily. Okay. All right, we're connecting with her. Hi, Emily. Can you hear me?
Yes. Do you know what this means? This is
Uh,
Cougs. My Cougs. So
You guys are ready to go, huh?
yeah,
I
and
haven't.
so
Well, Kel, somebody booby trapped my some coog booby trapped my phone.
can you hear me
Um,
okay?
yeah. You sound great. So, do you know that Kelvin Sampson used to coach at Washington State University?
I do.
So I have been rooting for them and for him. They're also the Cougars, actually.
Yes, they are. I feel like I hear an echo. Do you?
I don't. Um, do,
I think it's because I'm somehow listening. I can hear our live. You can hear me okay though?
yeah, you're fine. You sound great to me.
Okay. Then I'm gonna go with it.
All right.
Um, okay, so Calvin Simpson, he he coached at the Rockets. I have this funny story to tell you about this. So he
Okay.
coached at the Rockets before he coached at University of Houston.
Okay.
Did you know
Was he
that?
an assistant? Was he an assistant coach for the Rockets?
Yes.
Okay.
So they've been showing all this stuff about University of Houston back in the day in the 80s when it was the PHI Slamma Jamma. I'm not saying it on purpose.
Oh.
So my middle child Riley is watching it, and he's like, "Mom, prepare. What's the fee slamma jammy?"
It's not very good with his Greek.
I was like, "No, it's not. It's phi. I mean, this is like a huge deal. This is possibly like was one of the biggest deals of the 80s, and then they all went on, and then they went to, and then Hakeem went to the Rockets, and then they had the three-peat, and anyway. So how are you feeling about your Zagas? Your
Oh, well, the
Zags?
Zags, the Zags are looking strong. I mean, honestly, they moved the well, I think it just shows how basketball has changed so much, the philosophy. Like now it's so much one-on-one dribble drive, get your own shot. And the Zags move the ball and they pass the ball. Um, so yeah, so I'm feeling really strong. I mean, I don't we've been scoring in the upper 80s and 90s all year. So it's and they can shoot at a high percentage, but anytime anybody's undefeated, you always worry that the next game is going to be where when it all unravels.
That's right. So have you watched U of H play?
I think I've watched one game. What are they like?
So they're like, imagine 5 Dennis Rodmans in terms of rebounding skill.
Really?
Yes. And I mean, every one of them is it, what do we call it in volleyball? Scrappy.
Okay.
They just go after it. And their guard is this guy named Giroux. He's got like pigtail dreads.
Uh-huh.
He looks all skinny. Like, no offense if you're watching this, Giroux. I think you're amazing. But he doesn't look like he doesn't have that like build like some of the basketball players have, and he is just sneaky good. I mean, he just makes, yeah, he's their, I mean, anyway, it's just going to be so fun. I'm so excited for this weekend.
That is awesome. Now, Baylor's tough. I mean, real strong. So it's going to be a good game.
It's going to be a good game. But they, you know what happens when you're two from the same state? That's going to be.
Well, I want to ask you about that actually. Like living in in the University of Texas's backyard.
Yes.
And being a U of H grad, like how do you deal with that kind of tension, shall we say?
I always really celebrate when other teams, when my teams that I support beat Texas, but I am super respectful. It's not just about UT here though, because at the church, there are a lot of Aggies.
Oh.
There's a lot of Sooners.
Oh.
Because we're so close to Oklahoma.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that that root for Razorbacks because we're close to Arkansas.
Okay.
So, but I would say, you know, there's a lot of Aggies, a lot of Baylor Bears that ain't nothing to be ashamed of. Baylor is good at every sport, literally top. Yeah. I mean, think about it. They were excellent at football. They're excellent at women's volleyball. They were in the finals. They're excellent at women's basketball, I mean, they're just outstanding. So I think that it's just kind of amazing to be in a city where we get to root for a lot of teams, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
But we don't have like Atlanta. It was such a different feel because you had all the professional teams. There's none of that. I mean, there are major Cowboy fans here and major Astros fans, but it doesn't compare to the college support.
It's not the same. Yeah.
No.
Well, that's what I say about like my hometown, Spokane. Why?
No,
I mean,
Spokompton.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. A lot of people don't know that. It's hard to make it out alive. And I mean, the Zags are the only game in town, literally. I mean, it's like there might be like a minor league baseball team, but other than that, so you're just a rock star. I mean, you know, if you're on the team.
Does your mom send you the poster like she always does?
Oh yeah. Let me show it to you.
Yes.
So here it is. So
there
look at that.
Is.
Go Zags.
Oh.
Gonzaga, dude. They try to look tough in these things, but they don't look very tough. They look like they should be my caddy. Whenever we took our preseason photos, our coach was like, "I want you to look a little bit BA, like I want you to, you know, look a little intimidating." Well, Emily, people are wondering, how are you doing? How long has it been now that you've been at Westlake Hills?
Just a little over 2 years. Yeah, just 2 and a couple months, 2 years and a couple months. Not that long.
And what a 2 years they've been.
It feels like 10 because of last year, like everybody. I'm good. I think that our family is just experienced so much incredible luckiness in the past, specifically in the past 2 months with the storms. Our house is located a stone's throw from a major fire department. And so it would be really impossible for us to lose power because they can't risk that the fire department would lose power. At least that's what I say in my head, because nobody around us lost power.
Good.
I just happened to get our propane tank filled 3 weeks
Wow.
before the storm. No, literally, it was complete randomness. Like, oh, I haven't done that since we moved here. I should probably do that.
Wow.
Charlie, he kind of acted like a senator from the state of Texas, and he was actually gone that week. So
Yeah.
I bore it alone. But I say that because we just feel so blessed, and not that other people weren't blessed. That's why I'm cautious to use that word. But
Right.
super just blessed with that. But I tell you, having 3 teenage boys is the most difficult thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
Ever. And, you know, growing up doing youth ministry, I remember thinking, I can't wait to have teenagers. I will crush that. I will be the most amazing teenage mom ever. The thing is, I kind of think I am. They just don't.
Oh, bless your heart.
So, but I'm good. We all had COVID in December, which was
Mm-hmm.
awful. Really kicked our butt. But we're good. Am I breaking up?
I realize I've never asked you how you heard your initial call to ministry. Would you be able to share that story on your journey?
Sure, for sure. Am I breaking up, or am I okay?
You're okay.
Okay.
You're good.
I went into college being pre-med. I really wanted to be a doctor like my dad. And so I was taking all science and math classes. And then my 3rd semester or 4th semester, I took this class called Sociology of Religion. And it changed my life. I was like, this is the most fascinating thing I've ever studied. I found out about things in this country that I didn't even realize were true. I didn't even know that I grew up in an area of Tampa where there were Christians and Jews. That was it. I didn't even know that. Maybe I knew, but I don't really recall knowing that people of the Islamic faith lived in this country. And I just felt like so many things were exploding around me. And so I was like, I want to be like that professor. I want to be able to open people's minds up to all that the world has. And so I asked her, what do I need to do to become you? Her name was Dr. Ebaugh. She's an emeritus professor at University of Houston still. And she said, do you know what religion you want to specialize in? And I was like, Christianity, because that's what I am. I'd grown up in the church. I'd always loved the church. I've always known God. It hasn't been like I don't have an awakening moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so she said, you should apply to some master's programs to get your MDiv first, so you can really understand the religious side, and then use that as the springboard to get your PhD. And Emory has a great program. And I was like, Emory, oh my gosh, I have family that lives in Atlanta. And so I started there, and with no intention of going into the ministry whatsoever, because it wasn't going to make enough money. It wasn't prestigious. I wanted something that seemed, I don't know, like prestigious and super successful. And I also didn't ever think I would get married. And so I really wanted to have something that would be economically sustainable. So I started at Emory, and then after 1 semester, I was super bored because I had played a sport my whole life and I had never just gone to school. And I was like, what? This is so boring. And so I called my mentor, one of my mentors in Tampa, and said, what should I do? And she was like, why don't you get a job in youth ministry? And like, you'll get paid to play dodgeball and eat pizza. And I was like, no way. I mean, okay. And there's a lot of kairos moments in this, because I called the presbytery office. She got me the number. You know, this is like before Google.
Yeah.
And,
wow. There was a time that.
Yeah. And she said, the person that answered the phone in the Greater Atlanta Presbytery, which was probably like Donna, said, I have Deb Trimpe on the other line. And she's a pastor she was a pastor at Peachtree, and she needs an intern because she's getting ready to have a baby in youth ministry. Why don't you go over and meet them? And so I went over and met with her and with Lewis and Sandy at Peachtree Pres, and they hired me. And so I started working in youth ministry, just like 15 hours a week. And that was in the winter of 99. And I would say by the summer, I was like, I don't think I'm ever going to do anything else. It was the most life-giving thing. I'd never felt so truly alive in doing something, even more than playing sports or doing politics in high school and in grad school. Like it was so much of who I was going to be. And so then, but I still didn't think I would be like a pastor because I was going to be a youth minister. And then I had met Charlie, my husband, and he was a volunteer leader there. And so then the reason I really became a pastor is because of Lane, because Lane and Lewis and Sandy were like, you are so gifted at youth ministry. We believe in you, but we really see a bigger thing for you than that, a broader role. And so they just kept putting before me all of these opportunities for, like Lewis said at Peachtree, you need to intern under one of our pastoral care pastors and do hospital visits. And so he just set me up with all of these opportunities to realize that I could do it, and that I didn't need to narrow myself just into youth ministry. So that's that's the beginning.
And then you made the transition over to RPC. How many years were you at RPC?
16.
I mean, that is just, tremendous. And when I remember when I first came to RPC and I listened, to you preach and your giftedness and Lindsay and Bill and Randy and I remember going, oh my gosh, I better bring my A game every Sunday, every day, or I'm in serious trouble. They're gonna be like, get this guy out of here, because you guys were so gifted. And I think that speaks to Lane's kind of mentorship over so many years, but also your just calledness and how gifted you are. How did you grow over your time at RPC, over those 16 years? How did you do it?
I say anytime I've talked about it, I've had to talk about it a lot since being here, is that I feel like that Roswell Pres birthed me. I came there, I had just been married a year. I was 25. I wasn't even ordained. I got ordained. I didn't get ordained until 2005. And I started there in 2001. And so it was, or 2002, 2002. And I look back at that young me, and I am such a different person because of the people and the experiences at Roswell. And I would say the single greatest thing that changed me, that I could really attribute to long-term change, was leading Bible study for women that were all different ages. Leading Bible study for college students, young adults, women that were in their 80s, 60s, studying scripture and hearing real life wrestling and application, and then spending time praying and getting to know. I remember having like such staunch views on certain issues. Maybe it would be something like suicide. And then I meet someone whose son has died by suicide. Just so many people sharing life with me. And once flesh is put on an issue, everything changes. So I would say that was I just feel like that I was there 16 years, but I feel like I got a lot more years of just experience because of the what I was able to be part of, And again, a lot of Kairos moments that were not in anyone's control, but somehow God used those to grow me. I can name so many.
When you think back, of your time here at RPC, and now you've been at Westlake for a couple of years. How have you seen your ministry at Westlake informed by your experience at RPC? How did it prepare you?
Gosh, everything.
Mm-hmm.
Everything prepared me. I think that the fact that, I mean, it's awful. What Lane went through and we went through and walked along with him was the hardest thing second hardest thing I've ever done. Because I'm going to stick to the hardest thing is having these teenage boys. And then to the fact that he and Lewis just kept saying, you should do it. You should do it. You seem to have an interest in finances. Why don't I teach you? Why don't you learn about the church budget? And then Nancy Turner would say, well, let me walk you through. And Carmen would say, do you want to learn how to run that report? And just giving me it was like all the time, not even realizing it, I was getting these tools, tools. And I think that a lot of what Roswell went through while I was there was also, we experienced the tragedy of losing the senior pastor, but a lot of people that I still love to this day, experienced real trial, whether it be their daughter almost dying to their daughter did die.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I walking with people through birth, weddings, deaths, end of life decisions, that prepared me for this job in terms of being people's shepherd and pastor. And so I feel like I was very prepared. I was very prepared for the administration because I had such great teachers with Nancy and Doug Coe. I mean, we could just keep going on about all these people that just kept sharing information with me in a gracious way and in a way that was easy to learn. I feel like hands-on learning. And then the other things that prepared me, I mean, the preaching is the thing that changes because, you do it every week. That would be the big thing that changes.
Have you felt like when you're sitting down to write a sermon yet, have you looked at the blank page and gone, I got nothing? Or
it's happened once. And I told the congregation that I had nothing. And then what happened that very time that happened is that I got interrupted, and that led to the sermon. And so I just, basically my sermon was telling them the story of me having nothing.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of a scary moment because you're like, no one is coming to take the microphone away from you. You're it. Everybody's looking to you. And one of the interesting things I want to ask you, when I think of you, I think of an enthusiastic, joyous, hopeful person. And when I think about this last year with the pandemic, when we think about racial injustice, when we think of all the trials and travails in our communities and our families and our culture, how have you been able to sustain and maintain that kind of hope in the midst of leading people through this?
Well, I don't know if I have done that good of a job. I'm not going to lie that this year, I'm a midvert. That's what I've defined it as, midvert. So I really do love people, but I also really love time to decompress and sleep and be quiet. But I would say that one of the things that's a huge gift for me is self-reflection and self-awareness. And so there were several times especially in those first 9 months, where I would say I am not my best self. I am not my best self, the way I'm treating my family, the way I'm treating myself, the way I'm treating others. And I know that means something is missing. So what is it that makes me a whole person? Is it because I haven't been engaging in prayer? Maybe I do a lot of Bible study, but that's kind of my job as opposed to part of my faith journey, you know?
Right.
Am I actually practicing the discipline of prayer? Am I practicing the discipline of serving others? Or am I just like, oh, I got to do this because I got to do it? But more importantly was I have to have people pouring into me. I have to have, and when you're working from home and you're surrounded by teenage boys, it's not necessarily like the most getting poured into. And so I think what helped me remain enthusiastic was making sure to stay connected with my family, with my close friends. And I can't, part of the reason I have the enthusiasm is because I have hyperactivity. I mean, so there's nothing else to it. Like that's just how God made me.
Yep.
And so I consider that just a gift that I tend to view things glass half full, not glass half empty. I'm just so determined that God really, really does desire it for God's followers to have abundant life, and that abundant life should be fun. It should not be lame. It shouldn't be. And so I'm like, I want to live into that. Yeah. I don't know if that answered your question, but
no, that's awesome. No, I totally get that. What, as you're looking to the future at Westlake, what do you see as kind of some of maybe the leadership challenges or personal challenges, strategic challenge? Like, how is God calling you to grow and step out in faith into the future?
That's a really good question. And I'm a little nervous that someone else might, I don't think anybody on our session or our strategic team would find anything I say as a surprise, but I do think maybe church members would, just because, we're not as connected right now. I mean, we just started getting back in person a couple of weeks ago, but I would say that 150 million% we have to continue to grow thinking off campus, just the way that COVID made us do. So the church is not at 7127 B Cave Road. That's our address. That is not the church. The church is the people and out in the community. And so we used to say, we want to be able to make the front door of the church wider. Well, now I want to say we need to make the lawn bigger. It's not about it might not even be coming on campus. It might never be coming on campus. But how are we like with our fingers going out in the community and acting as the hands and feet of Christ? So I am so pumped about that. They know they can do it now. They know they can do it. And I believe that God will use COVID, not that God caused COVID, but God, out of everything, God will bring something good. God will use COVID to make the church sustainable for the next 150 years. Absolutely. Without it, I think that more churches would have suffered. Or have to. So I'm really pumped about that. The other thing that we've discovered in our specific area are that there are two populations of people that are booming. And it's people over the age of 65. Did you know that Austin has the highest percentage of people of seniors moving to its metropolis than any other city in the country?
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Than any other city in the country. So where we are located in Austin, we have a number of assisted living facilities. And these facilities, I can't remember what it's called in Roswell, but where like you come in and you're in a house, but you like buy in and then you can be there until you die. It has the houses to the assisted living to nursing home. Okay.
Yep.
And we have so many of those within 2 miles of our church. Yeah. So I know that we have a major opportunity to care for the aging. And I have a heart for the aging. A lot of our staff do. We just hired a parish nurse.
Oh, wow.
And I would love to just like have that be a robust program where it's a place for physical, mental, emotional well-being for our community. And really care. I feel like that the greatest generation has sustained the Christian church in America financially, and also with their hands and feet. And so it is our turn to really care for them. So I'm very excited about that. But the other population is that because of where we are, we have just amazing schools. And so lots of kids move into our area. And so we have this need for mental, emotional, spiritual care for our young people. There is a mental health crisis in our country, as we know, but specifically for school-aged kids because of the pandemic. Anxiety and depression diagnoses are triple what they were last year. And I obviously have a huge heart for students and for children. And so I'm so excited that we've realized youth ministry is never going to, I'm not going to say never. The youth ministry that I did, I don't know if this is the season for that. And so I'm excited I would love for every single adult at our church to adopt one child or one student so that every child feels like they know 8 adults well. They have 8 people to fall back on, 8 people that can support them, 8 encouragers and cheerleaders and challengers that will support them. And so I really want to do a comprehensive push for every adult to engage in the care of young people.
Wow, that sounds like a really cool initiative.
So
you are, I mean, I could think of maybe Roxy Chess, who I used to work, who used to be a PhD a number of years ago, and who I worked with. You and her would be on my top, Mount Rushmore of creative people. And one of the things I always valued from you is just I could have like a 5-minute conversation and come away with 50 ideas, and it was like, holy cow. So I know you're keeping people busy, which is awesome, because that's the kind of innovation we need, because the future is not going to be like the past. And once we reconcile ourselves to that,
there's no going back.
Right.
We need to stop saying going back. There is no going back. It is
normal to go back
forward.
to. Yeah,
it's just moving forward.
Which is scary, but once we kind of own it and accept it, then we get to be courageous and say, okay, how is God calling us to move forward? Because the church has always moved forward into an uncertain future. It's we look back and think it was certain, but at the time it was uncertain.
Right.
And the only
That's so right.
God goes with us, and part of the excitement is you have to walk by faith and not by sight, right? Which is sometimes challenging. Okay,
like the worst.
Yeah. So one of the things I've always loved about our friendship is every time I feel like we've gotten together, you give me something to read, something to watch. I'm thinking of one of maybe the most poignant conversations I've had with you. I forget the Sunday morning it was, but it was right before the 8:15 service. You roll in at 8 o'clock. You got tears in your eyes. You're crying.
Star is Born.
And you said, I just watched A Star is Born. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is wrong? Are you okay? What happened? Don't watch this movie anymore. I got to go I can't offer you, Pastor. I got to go preach, And then I watched the movie and I was like, and then I'm crying. Now I see what she had.
Oh, yeah, it wrecked me. Okay, so are you wanting to know what I'm reading and watching?
Yeah. What needs to be on our radar in terms of books, movies, music? What's in Emily Wright's, wheelhouse right now?
Okay, so I have read so much this year because of COVID, but also because of the genius device called Audible. So when I'm on my walks, I can read.
Yep.
If anybody that's listening has not read or listened to the book Educated, it's a
fantastic
book. It is, especially reading it in the midst of a political year, because it gives you a glimpse of what life can be like out for most of America, which is outside of the big city.
Right.
And how reality can be shaped so much by your surroundings. and the cost that can have on your life.
Yeah.
That book is, I highly recommend that book.
That is just a banana story. I mean, you're just like, what?
Yeah.
Okay,
So I'm
that's
reading
Educated.
that. Educated. Oh my gosh, if you haven't read All in Our Elephant is Completely Fine.
No, what? Say that title again.
All in Our Elephant is Completely Fine.
Oh wow, okay. What's that about?
It is the story of a very, very socially awkward woman. And you get inside of her head. So if any of you have any socially awkward people in your life and you're like, why do they do that? It is really, at the end of the day, it is the story about someone who does not believe that they are lovable. And the links that someone will go to show them. It has so many sermon illustrations. I've used it. It's so excellent. It was excellent book.
Okay.
And then, I mean, I'm trying to think anything else that would be worth telling y'all about. Are you the one that told me to read Malcolm Gladwell's Talking to Strangers?
I may have, but I don't think so. Maybe it's probably somebody else. But his stuff is fantastic.
That was another very fascinating book because it's about our ability to not tell the truth and to believe in, yes, by Tara Westover. Yes, Educated by Tara Westover, Maddie Cox. It's so good. Okay, shows.
Okay, here we go.
Have you watched Yellowstone yet?
I have. Although, I'm just going to tell you this. A family member, my father-in-law, recommended it, and I was like, oh my God, we started keeping up like how many people were killed per episode.
I'm sorry, like, when did you go so soft? Haven't you read the Bible?
Well, I have. That's why I read very small portions. I'm more of a Sermon on the Mount kind of guy.
Okay, there is just a lot about, again, I'm just taking things too deep. Remember the self-analysis thing?
I love it. This is why we love it.
But there is a lot about human nature and the way God created us in that's revealed. And the thing that's been most apparent recently, do we have time for me to tell this quick story from the show?
Yeah, for sure.
So one of the things that I'm dealing with having these 4 boys in my house is that while like Mark Gungor is a marriage guy who says that women's brains are like circuits, and so everything's connected back and forth. Men's brains are like boxes, and no 2 boxes can be open at once. And that can be very frustrating when my circuits are firing all the time. And as I was watching this show, Yellowstone, there's this one episode where Billy, and I'm not going to give anything away, Billy is one of the new cowboys. And he finds out and discovers that he's really good at bull riding. Mm-hmm. And so his mentor is one of the older cowboys and takes him to a show, and he wins. And he does so well. And then a couple weeks later, he goes for his next rodeo. Do you know what scene I'm about to tell?
I think so. You go ahead.
He's sitting on the top of the gate. The bull is right below him.
Yep.
And it's like literally, it's all going the same as it did that first time. And he has his hat like this, and he's going to put it on, and he looks like this, and he sees a buckle bunny. A buckle bunny are these attractive women. They wear big buckles and they ride horses for entertainment, but they're kind of like, they're the objects of desire at the rodeo. And he gets distracted, and his mentor says, don't go there. Stay focused. And you're like, oh, he's going to be okay. He gets down onto the bull, takes his hat, and before he pulls it down, he takes one more look at the girl. And he puts his hat down, and he goes off, and he gets bucked off. And it was this visual to me of, I think God created men and this is, you figure, thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, when the men were the ones that were stronger to go out and wrestle the animals and had to go out and get the stuff during the day, while the women, their primary role was to have the children. That God created them to be that way so that they would thrive and not lose focus. And so what I'm trying to figure out is, how can I embrace how my boys can only do one thing at once, and realize that that's just kind of, that actually can be something that can help them thrive, as opposed to me being critical of it.
I love
so
it.
that's like a little bit of a sermon with the that.
I love it. Well, Emily, I got to say, before our conversation, I was talking to an RPC staff member who knows you well, and I said to her, "Oh, don't worry, I won't ask her any questions to try to stump her." And then the staff member said, "Jeff, it's Emily. You'll never stump her." And it's true. It's true. I have not stumped you. So I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to help us close the distance here. And I know for myself, but so many folks love hearing you. We've benefited from your ministry and continue to cheer you on from a distance, and can't wait to see you in person again.
Well, I just have to say, I know you probably want to get off, but I hope that you and everybody at the church just knows that it will always be home for me and my family.
Well, that means the world to us, Emily. Thank you.
All right.
And for those of folks who are tuning in, next week we're going to take Closing the Distance off. I will be on vacation, but then we'll be back the following week with another special guest. So I look forward to that. Emily, be well, stay safe, and I'm going to finish the call, so you don't worry about it. Have a happy Easter and a great time, and we'll see you soon.